Tuesday, July 28th, 2026 to order at 6:30. And if everybody could please rise for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
And Alicia, if you could do a roll call, please.
Supervisor Lametti.
Here.
Supervisor Cole.
Here.
Supervisor Olson.
Here.
Supervisor Henriksen.
Here.
Supervisor Ludke.
Here.
And then for the record, we also have Attorney Mark Alsites.
Thank you for that. All right, we'll go into our public forum session. Can't say that twice. Is there anybody here for public forum? And if you are, come on up to the microphone and have a seat. Give us your name and address.
I think everybody knows me, Albert Lee, we're 229th. I'm coming with a possible idea. As you know, with the school forest, we're trying to get some of the simple tasks done. And we're running into difficulties with waivers and volunteer forms and stuff like that. Oh, how's that?
Better.
Okay, so I came up with an idea. I thought I'd bring it to the board, see what you think. Could we go to parks? I mean, it is park land, it's owned by the township, and say, we've got this pile of brush that needs to be removed. We've got these 2 trees that need to get down. Problem with the school forest is we don't meet during the summer. But if we could kind of have an idea on where we're at, if the parks can take care of that, then we can begin to move on with what we do for the students in the school forest. So purpose of coming up here is just saying, is this something that you can maybe address with parks and see what they say about getting these, at least these few initial projects taken out of the way. We did clear a lot of brush. It's piled, it's stacked, just got to be hauled out. So that was what I wanted to say, and I appreciate your consideration. Oh,
How big are
Lisa.
the branches?
I have not seen them personally. I
Maybe
reached out
look
to
at it.
Gretchen, principal, earlier today, and I don't know if she's out of the building or not, because I wanted to get very specific details for you guys, but she never got back to me, so I don't know exactly how big they are, so, okay?
Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks.
Thanks, Al. All right, anybody else here for public forum? All right, seeing none, I'll close this session of public forum. Oh. Do you have something?
You have some.
Yeah, come on up, Steve.
Steve Kramer, 7960 Fawn Lake Drive, Stacy, Minnesota. I'm in the process of trying to put some fuel tanks in at our property for filling our work trucks. I applied for a permit and then I got a email back saying I need a conditional use permit. Okay. I have only got to that point at this point. There's this Cindy Nash that I'm supposed to get a hold of. I have tried for 3 weeks to get a hold of this lady. I called her every single day last week, left messages on her voicemail and her direct line. No response, still to this day. So I'm irritated. I have other questions too. I've talked to you, John, about splitting some land. I wanted to clarify some more information with her. And how I could possibly get around these things, you know? But it seems like she's just a one-person operation and she is very inconsiderate of returning phone calls. So that's my biggest gripe today. And I'd just like you guys to know that any other buddy that seems like other people have had this issue too. So before we could come to the office here, have a discussion with the front office. They can kind of direct us on what we want to do, and they usually can give you answers back in the day. We don't have that option today. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention. I do have other projects I would like to move forward with too. It's going to be going through planning and zoning and all that stuff. I know all the steps to do all this. I dealt with Stacy for 3 years doing the project. I could actually get answers every day. So this is one of my biggest concerns.
Check on it.
So, we need to kind of move the process a little faster.
Yep.
Instead of months and months and months on time. All right?
Fair enough.
Thank
Alright,
you.
Thank you, Steve. All right, anybody else for public forum? All right, I'll close this section of the meeting. And we'll move on to the consideration and approval of the agenda. Does anybody have any changes to the agenda?
Yeah, I do. I'd like to remove 8.2 community service program proposal. That is resolved. There was just a edit to that document, but it was already approved. So we're good there.
Okay. All right, I have one under new business. We'll do 7.5. If the board's okay with that, and this is approving the ditch mowing. Right, any other changes? Yes, please.
I would like to add under new business 7.6, an RFA for offering to the town clerk
An RFA for what?
to extend an offer for the role.
Of town board.
Town clerk.
Clerk.
Town clerk.
Oh, town
Sorry.
clerk. Gotcha.
Town clerk RFA.
She's trying to replace you, Sam.
No, the whole board. Whole board's.
All right. Anything else? Is there a motion to approve the amended agenda?
Motion to approve the amended adjournment.
Second.
All right, motion's been made and seconded from Lisa and Sam. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye, opposed. Motion carries 5-0. All right, and now consideration and approval of the consent agenda. Anything there that needs to be changed, standouts? Seeing none, I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Motion's been made by John and Sam. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? All right, there's 4 for, 0 against, and 1 abstention. All right, new business, 7.1. All right, and the first one is going to be a development agreement. And I'm not even gonna try to pronounce the names because I will be just insulting people.
There's a definition list.
Yeah. Would you like to say it then? You
Yeah.
did the phonics.
Estates?
There you go. Excellent.
You got a cheat sheet.
All right, and Mark, did you want to speak to this?
Yeah, I'll speak to this briefly. So this has come before the council or the board already with respect to the preliminary plat. One of the conditions of that preliminary plat that was approved by the board was that the developer enter into a developer's agreement. The developer's agreement is what is before the board tonight. This was drafted both by primarily by Bob Rupi out of our office and reviewed by Planner Nash. There are just a few provisions in here that we don't have final estimates yet from Craig Yoakum. Page 4 of the developer's agreement, there is 150% of the estimated cost of the infrastructure improvements is a surety amount that will need to be added in. That final number is not crunched yet. Similarly, there's an escrow amount that's to be held for the developer paying the township's costs and expenses. And then there's also a park dedication fee that's not filled out yet. The rest of the developer's agreement is complete in its entirety. The developer's agreement itself covers a variety of things such as grading, drainage, sanitary sewer, drainage pond, shared driveway. That's all set forth and detailed in the developer's agreement. And so the motion and resolution that's before the board today is to approve the developer's agreement contingent to final town attorney review to fill in those few blanks that are left in coordination with the town engineer and Planner Nash.
Excellent. Thank you for that, Mark. Any questions?
I'll make a motion approving resolution 2026-10, a resolution approving a development agreement for a project known as Pashing and Chi Estates upon final review and recommendation from town attorney.
Motion is made. Is there a second? Motion been made and seconded from Andy and Dan. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye, opposed? Motion carries 5-0. And we got that developers agreement out of the way. All right, we'll move on to 7.2 Sunnyside Church. And Mark, I think you're gonna represent Cindy in this?
Yes, happy to speak to this one as well. So this is a conditional use permit for a sign that is just around the corner here. It's the retaining wall that's out there is being requested to be converted into a sign. A few moving parts to this, and there's some reasons that there's the changes that I proposed to the ordinance, copies also in the public packet, or the resolution rather. Planner Nash had drafted this in such a way to where the conditional use permit really didn't have a lot of conditions on it. The fear that I had absent putting those conditions is not that the church is going to do something bad, but a conditional use permit runs with the land. And so if the conditional use permit has vague terms and it continues to another property owner in the future, you could essentially be handing them a blank check to put up kind of whatever sign that they want, whatever dimensions they want. So I wanted to find a way to kind of rein in the requirements for the sign. We'll have a broader conversation here in a second about how you all choose to zone and what you ask for when you have permits. Because we'll just jump to that now really quick. As a township, you require a site plan or a sketch, but it doesn't say that it needs to be to scale, and it doesn't detail where the measurements need to be taken from. And so I think that one thing in your zoning ordinance that you may want to think about, if you want to be hands-off on something, be completely hands-off. There's no need to be requesting sketches of things that you don't care about the setbacks of, or that you don't care to regulate. If you care to regulate something, I would like to see ordinance language that actually requires detailed sketches and site plans or surveys. And we'll use this Sunnyside as an example. So the resolution as it stood in your packet pretty much just said, you get to put a sign up, so long as you consult with the county's cool with it, you can put a sign up. And there wasn't regulation on the face square footage of the sign, the height of the sign, the location of the sign. And so as a conditional use permit that runs with the land, my fear is, let's say a cannabis store purchases that and wants to put up a 30-foot cannabis flower sign right on the street corner there. We've now got sightline issues, all of these problems, right? And so what I've put before you tonight puts a few conditions in place. One, the corner of that sign that comes up onto, is that Typo Creek?
But here, yeah.
The corner that goes up into Typo Creek is a county road. That retaining wall appears to go into right of way. And so getting the county's blessing is a condition. The current retaining wall where they want to put the sign doesn't go into your right of way, because if you go east on 227th, that's town road, is just my read of your town map. And so it's currently not in your right of way. So one of the conditions is you don't ever get to locate it in the right of way. And then also regulating the application that came in from the church was for 20 square feet face of the sign, and then a max of 7 feet high. So those conditions are reflected in this agreement as well. So I think it's good for approval tonight, but I do want to talk about one other issue that I have with your sign ordinance. Your sign ordinance requires for any and all signs for the township to issue a sign permit. That's fine. I don't have any problems with that. If it is in a district where the sign is allowed, you still need the sign permit, but you don't need a conditional use permit. This is the R1 district, so there is no sign allowed of that nature. So your ordinance then requires an additional conditional use permit on top of it. So this is a conversation I had with Planner Nash is you guys are requiring a sign permit and a conditional use permit for the same thing. And your ordinance then reads, if you're processing a conditional use permit, you also have to process the sign permit concurrently and in accordance with the steps required for the sign permit. So that's why the language in here has changed as well to sign permit and conditional use permit. I don't get why we're doing both things. You definitely don't want to make it an interim use permit for all signs, because you're going to have your planning commission is going to go crazy just with all of the sign applications that'll come in. But I think you guys are trying to do that because one of your provisions you have in your ordinance says sign permits may be removed by the town board in your zoning code. I'm going to advise against that, of just unilaterally revoking them. That's a land use permit. It's like a conditional use permit. It's gonna run with the land, right? So if you were to try and do away with them and essentially amateurize all of the signs out of existence, that would be a taking of somebody's property interest if you're taking away their interest in the sign permit. And so what you may want to do in the future, if in areas where signs traditionally are not allowed, if you want to allow those signs, is do it as an interim use permit. Because if you ever wanted to get rid of that sign and not have it run with the land, interim use permits can be revoked by change of ordinance. So a simple stroke of the pen or vote of the board and publication of a new ordinance could do away with those signs in that area, in that, outside of the districts where they are outright permitted. So that's just, a few things that kind of became little projects today in speaking with Planner Nash. So again, to summarize, I guess I would say, one, I would just give the task to the board. Do you really care to regulate things? And if you do, please request more information would be my ask. And the reason why is it's an ounce of prevention is better than a pound of cure type of situation. If all you ask for is a hand sketch of something, yeah, that looks good to me. It's a hand sketch. There's no measurements. You approve it. Somebody builds the building then, and they're now inside of your setback. An enforcement procedure is really expensive. You have the ability under Minnesota Statute 1599 to outright reject somebody's application if it's incomplete or non-conforming, right? So if we can reject it up front because we have the details we need to reject it, great. I would rather do that than get into an enforcement matter and have to drag somebody into district court. It's way more expensive. So that's the first thing. The second thing is making sure that your ordinance language changes with respect to signs. I think it's silly to have two different permits issue for the exact same sign, and making sure that you remove that language in there about being able to unilaterally revoke it. The only time you should be revoking a sign permit or a land use permit like that is either if it's explicitly an interim use permit or if a condition's been violated and the board makes that determination. And then finally, I would recommend it for approval tonight. It's not my exact desired way of approving it. I would like to have a survey that shows exactly where that sign is going to be. That way in the future, that's the only place that sign can be. We've done that to the best of our ability using the drawings that are there and kind of try, create descriptions. Southwest corner of the property is all 20 feet surface, 7 feet high. We've tried to do that to the best of our ability, and I think that'll be fine for this instance. But this is just a small instance, I think, of how this could be a bigger problem in a different situation with a bigger development or a bigger project. This is a sign, so it's not that big of a deal, I think.
Okay. All right, any questions? Yeah, Sam?
You said 7 feet high. What I'm looking at says 17-inch high.
So there's been a few different proposals and way it's been talked about. And actually, I think the application that's in your packet is for a sign permit. Was the board also provided with the July conditional use permit application?
I believe Julie printed.
So there's a secondary application that come in, and it's my understanding that the nature of what they've proposed has shifted a little bit, Supervisor Cole. So it was originally going to be take the retaining wall and we want to put letters 17 inches high on top of the retaining wall. It's my understanding now that the proposal may be put a few more layers of brick on top of the retaining wall and then put the letters on the face of the retaining wall as it exists. That 17 inches was contemplating how high it would go above the retaining wall if they put the letters on top, which is not the case anymore. The application for the sign permit that was received by the township is where I pulled the 20 square feet of sign face and no greater than 7 feet high in total, which includes any lettering or raising of the retaining wall that is there.
How big of a deal is it to ask for more details? Is this like a process that if it goes back to them, it's like gonna cost a bunch of money? Or can we ask for more details? Because I feel like I'm seeing a picture here and I'm here and that's not what it's gonna look like. And it might be 7 feet high sign. And that might change if they sell the property to somebody else. So those things kind of give me a little bit of pause.
Yeah, I totally understand your question, and I'll walk backwards through the list. If you place a condition that sign, it can only be 7 feet. The reason why I wanted that, which it wasn't in there before, is because then it's a blank check. You've authorized a conditional use permit for a sign, that permit runs with the land. We don't put any constraints on it. And when we issue a permit, that is our one chance that we get putting conditions on it. So that 7 foot is a condition that will run with the land.
Right.
That would be the max it could ever be, and 20 feet in face, square feet in face. Walking back through the question, could we go back and ask for more information? We can. We're in a tough situation, admittedly, and I think that this is a reasonable enough situation to have this discussion with the board. Wherein your ordinance does not require that level of detail, which is what I was expressing the frustration with of you don't require certain sketches or requirements to scale. And that level of detail is what is missing from the ordinance. And so we, in my opinion, are past a window in which asking for that information is compulsory or required of the applicant. So within the first 15 days of the application under Minnesota Statute 1599, we can send a written notice to the applicant that their application is incomplete. And we have to cite to where in our ordinance they've failed to identify exactly what we're looking for. Traditionally, we would see those requirements in two places. One, an explicit requirement for detailed site plans or sketches to scale. We don't have that to scale requirement. And the second is there's generally one in there that allows for the zoning administrator to ask for any and all information, kind of a catch-all, right? Zoning administrator can ask for any and all additional information. It's hard to reject it as incomplete based on that because you can't guess what's in the zoning administrator's head, but it at least gives us some authority to ask for additional information. Here, I think we most certainly can. I just would have a hard time advising to the town board if the information is not what you like, then rejecting the application, given we've deemed the application complete by default. We didn't, in 15 business days, reject it as incomplete. So the board essentially said it is complete and we're processing it based on the information that we have.
Yeah, but if we reject it, are we sending them through? Because I think what I'm seeing here and what I'm hearing, I think the sign sounds fine. But what really gives me pause is like the next owner. And so I don't want to reject this and cost them thousands of dollars to go through it again. That's not my intention. My intention is, I don't know, maybe even just like pushing this back one more meeting so we can maybe take another pass at the ordinance. Like what were you talking? You're talking about the interim use permit. Is that an option for us so that we don't have to worry about this passing on?
Not anymore. So once an applicant comes in and applies under your ordinance as it stands, their
too late.
application is evaluated under the ordinance that you have at the time. A change in ordinance and applying it to an application would be deemed by the court as arbitrary and capricious and be rejected. So the court would process it, treat it like you're processing it under the ordinance at the time that they applied. I think here too, the other thing that I was trying to talk to Planner Nash about is, do we regulate, and can we regulate in any way the content of the sign? Could we say only a church sign? The conclusion that I came to is no, just based on First Amendment speech protections and class of business protections. I don't think it's going to be defensible to regulate content of a sign.
Sure.
And I think that there's pretty firm case law on that front. And then the second one came to, can we regulate it to being in the exact location that it is? And I think the answer is yes. The exact location is hard to pin down in this instance, though, because there's no survey. We didn't ask for one. We didn't require one. And so, yeah, we can say it must be on the retaining wall, but that's a temporary structure. It could be taken down by an owner. And in the future, when that retaining wall is gone, how are we to say where the retaining wall was 20, 30, 40 years from now, right?
Sure.
And so I don't think that this is going to be a big issue for this property. I really don't have grave concerns, given the additional conditions we've put in place. At worst, you're getting a 7-foot high sign there that's going to be 20 square feet total. You may never have another sign there after the church. You also do have your non-use provisions. So if a CUP is not used for a year, you're able to revoke that CUP.
Have to do that, or is it done automatically?
It depends on how your ordinance is structured, but I would advise always that the town board hold a meeting when revoking to establish a factual basis for revoking.
Sure.
Because, I would want on the record, we noticed on this date, there wasn't a sign. It's now X many days later, 367 days later. That's greater than 365 days or a year. And based upon that basis, we're revoking the conditional use permit for the property.
As part of this application, did they have to talk to the neighbors and stuff and figure out if the neighbor's gonna have a problem with this huge sign?
Yeah.
There was a public hearing already.
That's part of it? Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Just checking. All right. Sounds good. Those are my questions.
Lisa?
I believe they applied for this last spring. And this has been a long going deal. I mean, they are gonna have it on the bricks. It won't be above, and I don't think we should let them go ahead and proceed with this.
Yeah, I agree. I don't want to give them a hard time. I was just wondering about.
Yeah, and my
So-
concerns were never with the plans
Okay.
as described by the church, right? My concerns were largely tied to
Mhm.
the CUP runs with the land, and this is really close to your parks, it's really close to your town hall.
Yeah.
And I don't want some future business throwing up a massive sign there that's obnoxious.
So it sounds like, there's not really a way to fix that without putting Sunnyside through a whole rigmarole. So,
You have to process Sunnyside's application at this point under
Right.
your existing ordinance in a quasi judicial capacity. You must be fair, neutral, and impartial.
Come on up, Al.
Just a
Just your
quick
name,
note of history.
just your name. real
We've
quick.
been there 75 years.
Mhm.
No plans to sell it to any
Yeah.
kind of a grocery store or anything else. So no plans to do that. We've been there 75. We plan on being there another 75 years. So
For the
Sounds good.
record, that
Thanks,
was Al
Al.
Hurtley. Thank you, Al. Yep, come on up. Name and address first.
Yeah, good evening. Excuse me. Good evening. My name's Lee Grantquist. I'm at 215-21 East Birchwood Circle. And I'm part of Sunnyside Church. I'm hitting the sign. And I'd like to clarify a couple of things. First of all, we are in the right of way, but the church was there before the right of way was extended. The other comment is the 7-foot high is possibly correct, where that'll be the very top. But our intent is to move the masonry retaining wall up a little bit and then put the wall or the sign on the front of the face of the wall. And that'll be 17 plus or minus 17 inches tall, something like that. So we're excited about doing that. We're trying to improve our neighborhood a little bit at a time, and we think that's what we're doing. And do you have any other questions?
No, I think it'll look nice.
Okay, thank you.
Al,
I just have,
Andy?
one just, because I think speaking to the ordinance too, just the brightness, like, do we have anything in terms of how bright it's going to be just on the 4-way stop? It's just my,
I can't answer that except I didn't get a lumen count or anything like that from our supplier. There is another one at Transform Church. If you want to go west of 65, you can see it. And we're actually copying some of what they have.
Okay.
But it's not obnoxious.
Any questions for Lee before he leaves?
I've seen that sign and it is, doesn't detain any visual thing, really. The brightness doesn't affect.
Thank
Uh,
you.
question for Mark.
Yeah.
If he said they're in the right of way, does that mean the ordinance that we have is gonna just be invalid?
No, so if I may just clarify really quick, where they're in the right of way is in county right of way, and that's
Oh, okay. Got
longstanding.
it.
And so they're not presently in our right of way. So one of the conditions is you can't relocate into our right of way. You have no intention of doing that, but it's just a protection for the township. And also if it ever transfers hands, I understand they don't intend to do that anytime soon, but you never know. And then one of the conditions is just ensuring that the county is okay with the structure being in the right of way. It has been for quite some time. So I doubt that there's going to be any issue there, but
Okay. Is there any benefit of putting it into the resolution that if the conditional use isn't used within 360 days, that it will be revoked?
no, it doesn't need to be a condition. That there's a well-established case law on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. All right, any other questions or comments? All right, what's the board's pleasure? There is a resolution before us. What's the next sequential number? Is it 11? We just approved 10.
yeah, it's 11, it's in the packet. It's just not written on that one.
Oh, okay. All right.
And
got it.
Chair Olson, I will also say, not only is it operation of law, it's in your ordinance, section 30-90, lapse of conditional use permit by non-use. It has that 1-year provision right in there.
Beautiful, thank you.
I make a motion to pass resolution number 2026-11,
Second.
Read the title,
okay.
read the title.
Approving conditional use permit and sign permit for Sunnyside Church.
Second.
All right, motions were made and seconded by Lisa and Sam. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
I,
Aye, opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Right. All right, we'll move on to 7.3. It's gonna be a discussion of accessory structure ordinance revisions. And Alicia, were you gonna speak to that? All right, thank you.
Planner Nash is just wanting to know if the board would like to move forward with scheduling a public hearing for the next planning and zoning meeting, which would be August 18th. So if you do need to do that, then it has to be sent to the paper for publishing by the 3rd.
August 18th. Comments, suggestions?
Yeah, do we want to do something to make discussion on this or?
Well, we can. If somebody wants to make a motion, then we can do discussion. Otherwise, you can speak your mind now.
Okay, I got issues with it. Most of it's done pretty decent. There's a few things that were not addressed. 16-foot sidewalls is still an issue for me. Anything over, I think anything over 2.5 acres should be allowed to have 16-foot sidewalls. I have 3.5 acres. I have 16-foot sidewalls. There's no issues. You meet setbacks and everything else. I don't see why we can't have that. And for some reason, they don't want to talk about it. I can't find a reason for it. I don't want to look at other people's stuff. And I think that they have the right to put their campers inside their buildings, and all their other stuff. So I think that should be allowed. Also, they cost a friend of mine about an extra $5,000 on his pole building because he had to get engineered trusses on it. And there was no reason that I saw that he couldn't have 16-foot sidewalls. He had the land. It wasn't as much land as they want, but that's a huge issue for me and I will not support it. The other thing was a concern was the architecture was worded compatible or coordinating, which is significant reduction in strictness from matching, including the material that is currently there, similar to the one above. That one was still a little concerning on, there's a little bit of gray area in that wording on that. So I was kind of seeing if we could clear that up, or I talked to Cindy about it and she said it was okay, but there's still, it's not like specific, like whoever the inspector is makes the decision instead of the township.
Great. Anything else, Dan?
That's what I got.
Lisa?
the portable storage structures, since everyone is complaining about everything in people's yards. I'm thinking if it's over a certain acreage that they should be able to have more than, I think it was 2 or 3. I thought I highlighted it and I did not. But since people are complaining about everyone's got valuable stuff in their yards, that if it was in a portable structure, that at least that would be out of their eyesight of people complaining.
Supervisor Hendrickson, I think it's at the bottom of the first page of that Division 3 Access Uses Buildings and Structures, Section 30-667. There shall be no more than 1 portable storage structure per property.
Yeah, and I think they should be able to have more than 1.
My only thing with that, as long as they're covered or blocked by trees or like, don't think that, I agree that they should be allowed, but I think we should be they should be covered or kind of hidden, so they're not an eyesore.
And if they're damaged, something new
Right.
to cover it up again.
Correct.
Are we talking like shipping container type
Correct.
of structures?
Yes,
Okay.
correct.
One thing too that I'll say that we run into a lot with those shipping containers is they're often set up on like some type of crate or pallet or something like that. From a zoning perspective, you control the use, but also from a nuisance perspective, a lot of times people don't maintain, they throw it somewhere back on a property or near a property line. Bunch of vegetation grows up. If you've got the crawl space underneath or you've got it on pallets or something, there's a lot of issues with mice, rats, vermin, et cetera, from a nuisance perspective. So that's something to think about as well. We were just talking about this with another client today, actually, of how to effectively regulate these shipping containers from a nuisance perspective. And one requirement may be just making sure that they are on flat contact with ground and that grass does not reach a certain height around the side of them. That's something for consideration in regulating them as well.
And it's just the woodchucks and the skunks that dig underneath it.
Yeah.
Yep.
And the other thing too is a requirement from a nuisance perspective that the containers remain locked. You'd be surprised how many of them are left open and they just become, harboring a bunch of wildlife and things. So that's another thing too from a nuisance perspective to think about.
So this ordinance changed. Is this the sidewalls thing we've been hearing about ever since I got on the board? Random people coming by every week to talk about.
Pretty much.
Yes.
And is
pretty
this
much.
making it more restrictive
Yes.
than it
Well,
already
it's
is?
it's the same. Nothing's changing on it.
Yes, come on up, Joe. Yep. Get up your mic and then name and address, please.
Joe Dolphy, 7070 Fawn Lake Drive, Stacy, Minnesota. To say nothing has changed, Dan, we came a long ways from what we had a year and a half ago. We had
They said the
12-foot
rest of it was
sidewalls.
fine.
We've-
One at a time. One at a time.
We
please.
have increased it to 16-foot sidewalls on 5 acres or more. And the square footage increased drastically from what we had. And if you don't want to have a public hearing on it, throw it back to planning and zoning. We can look at stuff. But what you're talking about is not an everyday occurrence. It's an occasional thing where somebody wants 18-foot sidewalls on a garage on 2.5 acres. That, in one of the proposals that came through planning and zoning was anything over 5 acres and more, you could have a 16-foot sidewalls with a 25-foot setback. That didn't pass. I don't know where we're at with that. I think it's still a 10-foot setback. But there was other options that came in front of planning and zoning. We discussed a bunch with Cindy Nash, which I'll echo Steve Kramer's sentiment. I wish I could talk to Cindy Nash so I could iron out some of these little things that we're talking about. And yeah, I'm only planning and zoning, whatever, one member. But in order to clarify things between meetings and stuff, it'd be nice to communicate with people. Some of the stuff Dan's brought up, it doesn't meet everybody's satisfaction. I understand that. But I think that we've came a long ways towards increasing what our minimum standards were before, And if you don't like what's there, bring it up. But I'm venting again. What happens is a few people come to the town board and they have another public hearing here other than the ones that we have. So even if we had a public hearing, you're gonna get a couple of squeaky wheels that'll show up here and don't want it the way it is, and you're gonna have another public hearing. So then where's planning and zoning in this whole process? We have hammered it around, different members have, and we have modified it considerably from what we used to have. We had a 3,600 square foot maximum a year and a half ago. We're up to 10,000 maximum if you have enough acreage. So there has been changes made. Maybe it doesn't meet everybody's satisfaction, but I don't think that, looking at the benefit of everybody in the township, I think we have to put guidelines and rules in. That's what planning and zoning has tried to do. And I guess to say we haven't done anything, I take offense to that because we have worked hard. We've been back and forth on this issue for over a year on many, many different aspects of it. And I guess we're still working on it. If you don't like ready for a public hearing, kick it back. I mean, and I don't know who's going to be on planning and zoning next month, but whatever. I do think that we can't, as a township, we can't bend everybody's wish as they walk in the door. Somebody's always going to want something different than what we have on the books. And it's hard to establish rules and laws if we're going to change them every time somebody comes in about something. I'm done.
Thank you, Joe. Dan, go ahead.
So this rule was changed back in 2017 or so. There used to be 16-foot sidewalls. That's how I ended up with it. So from 2017 or somewhere around there, you guys took it away. So now you're saying that this was never like that. Well, it's not true because I got permits to do it. And I did not file for a variance.
I don't have the records of it. I'm not gonna even try to defend that thing. The 12-foot sidewalls had to do with the smaller acreage, and then as the acreage increased, it went up to 14-foot, and we capped it at 14. I can't tell you what year it happened. I think Mike Jungbauer, or some former zoning administrator, was here at the time, and we worked at what surrounding communities were dealing with and what they set for guidelines. I don't recall us being 16-foot sidewalls, and I could look back. I probably got code books from way back when that would refer to it, but it doesn't matter what it was. This is what we're proposing for now. And from here, I guess, I think the 2.5 acres, that's our lot minimum, of course, in Linwood. There needs to be some restrictions so that you don't have Mongo buildings, big, warehouse type buildings as far as square footage and height wise and stuff. That's what the planning and zoning is looked at, is for the benefit of everybody in the community. If somebody wants something bigger, depending on their situation and conditions, and I know some people don't like this idea, there's an option of a variance. So I mean, that option was there. And some people say you shouldn't have to pay for variance if you want something bigger. There's always going to be people that want something different than what the rules are. And the variance option is something that should be not thrown out, available to people.
All right. Thank you. Yeah, Sam?
I was just trying to understand, I'm not very good at planning and zoning, so I think we all agree at some point in the last 10 years or so, the rule changed to become more strict, and I've heard that, like, when this has come up throughout the year. I'm assuming that's generally true. But what does this do? What is this ordinance? Because the parts that are highlighted, it's not clear to me what this ordinance is changing.
I don't have it in front of me right now. I couldn't say. Cindy Nash brought in some different changes that she recommended on stuff. And planning and zoning looked at it somewhat, and it seemed to meet with most of, well, I think all of the planning and zoning members with the amendments that she proposed. Now, it didn't change the wall height, other than the 16-foot. That became acceptable if you had enough acreage and enough setback. That's referred to somewhere in the proposed ordinance. But I guess if the town board's not happy with what we're proposing, kick it back to planning and zoning. And there'll be new members probably on planning and zoning that can have a different attitude about things. But I do think that as a township, we need to be careful how wide open we make things. So.
Does anybody know what this?
I was just gonna
Andy?
this is a change from existing. So to clarify, the red line one would have been in the P and Z packet that they discussed last week.
Okay.
You watched that video, they went through it section by section.
Okay.
And talked through. My understanding, board has provided a clean version for reading and review for this meeting.
But do you know what the changes were generally?
Yeah, it's this table for one. An
Changes
increase.
to the table are to be more or less restrictive?
They are less restrictive than what is currently in ordinance right now.
Okay.
There's just clarification on like the note added in there when determining the parcel size. That was clarified, so it's no longer somebody saying I have this much land, and then the reviewer saying you have this much, and then somebody saying this. It's like, nope, this is the standard everyone's using. If you want to prove you have more land, pay a surveyor to survey the lot and show what you have. Put the burden of proof on the applicant. So little things like that were cleared up. The number and cumulative to what he spoke to. I would, if it's more or less wanting to see the differences, I would request that red line be provided for people to review the difference of. But that, to answer your question, that's the majority change.
And we're not approving the ordinance, we're approving whether it goes to a public hearing?
This is simply input to put back. At the end of the day, it's a public hearing. Everyone at this board could walk up to that microphone as a resident of this town, correct me if I'm wrong, and speak to what they want to see and say in the ordinance.
And then when is the final vote for the ordinance after that?
Yes.
Okay.
And
Yeah,
then it'll come
I-
back to the board.
I'll give a small caveat is when exercising zoning control, you should operate in a neutral and quasi judicial capacity. If there is a particular project or something that is before the board, you should not be speaking for or against a particular project, application, et cetera. Because you would then be removing yourself from that quasi judicial capacity and putting yourself into, you essentially can't take off the hat as an elected official. You must remain in that quasi judicial capacity. And Supervisor Lutke is correct. I went to the agenda packet because it is a bit confusing the way it's in the packet today. You can't see the red line. So I'm just as lost as Supervisor Cole on that respect. But if you go to the agenda packet from the July 21st Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, in there, there's very clear color coded red line that shows what the changes are.
All right, yeah, Lisa?
So I also would like the 16-foot walls for at least 5 acres. I mean, I have 9.89, no, it's just under 10 acres. I wanted 16-foot walls when we built our pole barn. I was told as long as it was lower than the highest point of our tallest peak, that I would not need a variance. We came in, got the variance for the size, and then I was told that we would have to get a second variance for the height. And we could have done that, but it would have put us back another 2-3 months on building our pole barn, then it would have been winter. So it's like, I would like to see at least 5 acres being 16-foot walls.
Dan?
Yeah, and the other thing is, if you look at Oak Grove or Columbus, this is not what they have. They are a lot more flexible on their wall heights, and they do a maximum height versus the wall height of the building, which limits how big of a building you can build on your acreage with your setbacks, which is a lot more simpler, no variances. That's my whole thing, is like the whole variance thing just, to me, is wrong.
So our options that I see before us is we could not approve a public hearing yet, and put this back to P and Z to review. Or we could table this till the next meeting. For those that haven't had a chance to see the P and Z meeting, you can watch back and watch the video. Or we could approve then to hold a public hearing, because the public hearing is the point in which all of us as citizens would have the right to walk up to the microphone and explain exactly what our issues are with this. And then planning and zoning will take that back and either make amendments or pass it on to the board. Once it comes to the board, then the board would either approve or deny, depending on whether it's changed or not, or how you feel.
And I think too, as the RFA is written from Planner Nash, it's either to approve the ordinance as drafted or with suggested town board changes. So the board could send it to planning with any proposed changes that you all have to how it's been redlined or drafted as well. So that is an option. And I'll remind, Planning Commission is an advisory body. Town board will receive a recommendation from the Planning Commission, ultimately does not need to directly follow that recommendation. It may make its own decisions.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion to delay this vote to the next meeting.
All right, there's motion to table it until the
Table
next
it, yep.
meeting.
That wouldn't really help, because planning and zoning meeting is until. Or are you talking just review it?
I just need to review the red line because I feel like I don't have a firm enough understanding of what this is changing. And that's on me.
No, I was looking for the same thing. The red, normally we'd see the red line version and then a clean copy that can be signed off, and we don't see that red line. Yeah, Joe?
Well, he made a motion. Is there a second for discussion, or
Oh, yeah,
before we move on?
thank you. Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Okay, now any other discussion?
May I add something?
Yes.
I agree. Tabling is not going to solve anything. If we had the public hearing, that's the time for people to come in and dispute what's on the ordinance as proposed. The ordinance that, again, you may not see the red lines, but it is with the ordinance that we as a Planning and Zoning Commission approved last week, whatever. If it went to public hearing, that's the time when people could come and present what particulars they don't like about it. And then it can go back, planning and zoning can go back to drawing board. And if you don't like, when it comes back to the town board, you don't like the resolution of that, you can make any changes you want. But I guess I would like to see public opinion on what we're proposing. And kind of show if there is a possibility of showing what's redlined, what we have changed from what we previously had to what we're going to, what we're proposing going to. At least the public could see what modifications, what amendments we're trying to make and what we have, I feel we've made for progress on it. We haven't opened the door to everything everybody wants, but I think to go to a public hearing would at least give the public an option to express their satisfaction, dissatisfaction, or whatever, and then come to the board with what the public wants, not just what a couple people want. And that's my attitude on it, so.
Yeah, sorry, if we could just make a quick comment. So if we delay it a couple weeks, for me, I wanted to go through and look at the red line, but as Alicia had pointed out, is that if we approve this to go to public hearing, the public hearing would happen no earlier than August 18th. Is that correct? So that gives us several weeks to review the documentation, be a part of the public hearing on the 18th, and then see what changes the P and Z would make to the ordinances based on.
One more comment for me, if you don't mind, Sam. I'm sorry. This thing's been hammered around for a year and a half. Another 2 months isn't gonna kill it either. If you wanna wait and hold off until you set a public hearing, that'd probably be okay too. Cause I think planning and zoning has looked at it a lot. I do believe there's gonna be some changes in the planning and zoning commission in the next few months. That might change the complexion and the attitude of what recommendation comes across to the board. So maybe it would be best to just put it off for another month or two. Unless there's something that is real urgent coming through the office regarding requests for any accessory buildings. And even then, we gotta live by the rules we got until the new ordinance is established. But I guess as a planning member, even a townsperson and that there, to put it off for another month or two isn't gonna be the end of the world,
But I also look at it though, that you can have a public hearing on the 18th, because whether you have it on the 18th or the next month, you're still gonna have a public hearing and hear the same things.
Okay.
And that way it gives P and Z some time. And if you guys want to delay it an extra month to check things out, that would be one thing. But I mean, that's just my opinion. We'll do Sam and then Andy. Sam, go ahead.
Yeah, I think the stakes probably aren't too high, which way we go. I guess the way that I'm just leaning on it is like, we'd want whatever is going to the public meeting to be as close to possible to what we're looking for. And so if it turned out, Dan has some reservations about it and I don't know anything about it. And so I would feel embarrassed if I sent something to a public hearing and then found out that there was something major with it that I disagreed with. Even though I know we can change it afterwards. So that's just my thought process there.
Okay, Andy?
I'm just not in support of micromanaging the time. I mean, we see millions of public hearings that come before the board has to approve a public hearing. Planning and zoning operates like they do. The public hearing is there, the process is there. The red line is there, it's been on the website. This is semantics of how it didn't get in this packet, because this is just to present the information to provide that input. And anyone can send that input off, get it to be revised and be at the public hearing. I don't want to delay anything, and perfection paralysis is what has got us to where we're at. We're never going to have something 100% perfect for your property versus my property versus his. We're just not going to get there.
Yeah.
So 80-20, 80% we get there and we're good.
Lisa?
So just with the 5 acres to 7.5, so I thought it was 5 acres for horses. I guess it's 7. So if they're gonna have horses, that way they would be able to put hay and all that on
Versus is 9 acres.
9? Oh, okay. I still think 16-foot wall should at least go down to the 5 acres. So I mean, they get the land. Put their stuff in the pole barn. Everyone's complaining about the yard stuff in their yards.
All right, Sam?
A question for Mark. Are we restricted in any way how we can change this after the public hearing happens, or is it just like, could we just go get the feedback, take that feedback and then continue to troubleshoot? Or once that happens, are we like on some sort of track where there's pressure.
So long as your public hearing notice is broad enough to cover proposed changes that you as a board may want to make to it, you'll be fine. So you want to send language over that's as accurate as you can get it ideally. But I mean, if you've got this to the point where you're debating between 2 feet on a sidewall, that's accurate enough to send it if you want to send it and then make that modification. They're going to make a recommendation. The recommendation might be 14 feet. You might pass it with 16. But so long as modification to sidewalls is a part of what is noticed at that public hearing, the public had a right to be there and tell you whether it should be 14 or 16. That's enough to authorize you to make those modifications because it was noticed. The public had an opportunity to be heard.
For the sake of just getting the public input already on this, I'm in favor of, I'd withdraw my motion.
Will you withdraw your second?
Yeah, sure.
All right. All right. Is there a new board action? Board's pleasure.
I don't know how to phrase the motion, but motion to
To approve a public hearing.
approve a public hearing for the ordinance, for the changes to the maximum sidewall height.
For the revisions of the accessory structure ordinance.
For the revisions of the accessory structure ordinance.
Very well put.
Thank
All right. Is there a second? I'll second it. All right. Any other further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
No.
Okay.
I didn't hear yours, Andy. You were an aye. Okay, so that's 3 ayes, 2 nays. Motion passes. Alicia, you can go ahead and set up the public hearing. And then we have it in our meeting notices that we can meet as a majority of the board at any of our meetings. So I would encourage anybody from this board that has input and comments to be at that public hearing. Okay,
And for point of clarity, it's on the website, as Attorney Allsites have slated, in the packet from the
21st.
21st meeting last Tuesday for the P and Z. So go to Linwood Township, mn.gov.
For ease of residence, are we able to just attach that red line to, I don't know how the notice works. Is there a way we can make that notice easily accessible? Pointing to the red line?
It'll be in the,
it's
it'll be
in
in
the
the
meeting.
packet.
Right, but like, there's gonna be people who don't know how to do
people
that.
who see the public notice.
I would subscribe to all updates because it would be sent right to your email.
Okay.
So if you were to make a
What month?
public service announcement to subscribe to emails at linwoodtownshipmn.gov. When staff sends out emails, they literally send you a text and an email where you click on it and you read it.
Okay.
I don't know how much easier than walking it and knocking it on, taping on everybody's door we could. do.
Okay. All right, we'll move on. All right, next thing on the agenda is the approval of ditch mowing. So we had gone out for quotes. We got 3 quotes back, which was awesome. We've got some new vendors that are interested in doing work for the township. What we did was the clerk and I opened the quotes after our 1 o'clock deadline today, looked at them. The quotes that came in ranged not too far off, but went from 135 to 150 or 155 an hour. The 2 were very close together. They were a couple dollars apart. It was kind of hard to come and make a recommendation to the board as to which one. If we do it purely on the low bid, it's 135 versus let me just verify, 135 versus 138. Yeah, 138 an hour and 135 an hour. So where it doesn't stay as crystal clear as being able to just pick the lowest bid out of those is because we also have them identify the equipment that they're using. And so one is using a 6-foot flail mower to do the work. And the other one is using a John Deere R240 disc mower. So I looked up the differences online. The disc mower is 7 foot 11 inches wide, so basically an 8 foot swath versus the flail mower is a 6 foot swath. Although they do the same thing, they do it a little differently. One uses spinning, kind of like your mower deck. The blades are spinning in a circle. It cuts the grass real clean off because it's intended to do like alfalfa fields. The other one actually has a drum with rotating blades. So that one will basically mince and blend the debris a little bit better. But that one is 6 foot wide. The other one is 8 foot wide. So I was kind of like, I've had experience with the R240 in that I know how fast it can cut. And it goes pretty fast and at an 8 foot swath. I mean, you're moving pretty good. But I don't have any experience with this flail mower, so I don't know if it's the same speed. I don't know if it's faster. But depending on how fast they can cut, that impacts our bottom dollar that we're paying out because we're paying by the hour. If one takes $100 to do the township and the other one takes 150, that $3 is going to get eaten up like that $3 difference. So Lisa, you were first.
So if there's debris in the ditch, limbs and all that, will that affect the mowing?
Good question. On the R240 that spins kind of like your mower deck, it really didn't address how it handles brush and sticks and those kind of things. Where the flail mower, if you Google it, it did specifically say that it handles brush, twigs, small, you know, like up to 1 inch, I think it said, things growing up out of the ditch. Yeah, good question. Sam?
So the flail mower, you're saying might be the same, might be faster. Is there a possibility that it's slower?
It's possible. Like I said, I have no,
You have just no idea.
I don't have experience with the flail mower, so I'm just not really sure.
Okay, then we're allowed to discuss right now, or does there need to be a motion?
I was just explaining it, but yeah, we can, if somebody's comfortable, make a motion, we can make a motion.
I make a motion to go with the option that does not use the flail mower.
Okay, that would be that one. So just so everybody's clear, the one that used the flail mower was at 135. The one that used the R240 was at 38.
Okay, so I'd like to make a motion to go for the 38 option.
$38 an hour option.
Yes.
All right, is there a second? Is there a second? Okay, motion's been made and seconded from Sam and Dan. Now go ahead and discussion.
The reason I'd say is, unless somebody knows something about flail mowers that I don't, which is very likely. I'd rather go with the known. You're saying the R240 is fast. So I'd like to go with the known fast option than the unknown. Unless somebody has some input about mowers that they'd like to share.
Yeah,
We
Dan?
use both at work.
Same thing.
They do the same job. It's just what machine you decide to buy. Right? So I don't think there's a real
Okay.
definition on which is gonna do a better job. Like John said, the flail motor cuts it flat. The other one chews it up.
Okay.
So there might be tall grass laying in the ditch versus the drum is gonna chew it up and mulch it. Is the difference.
So really, in terms of speed, same thing.
I don't think the speed is any different.
Yeah,
We
Lisa?
definitely need something that, because there's a lot of brush in a lot of our ditches. So we need to make sure that when they're cutting the grass, that they're probably,
I don't know if that's gonna take care of the brush problem, but
Small stuff, but yeah.
small stuff it will, but the flail motor probably won't take care of the brush where the drum would chew it up. So
The drum would be a little more flexible in terms of debris.
somewhat. I mean, they still have to go through and pick up trash or whatever's in the way, because if you run something over, you're gonna wreck your mower. So
Like a
I don't know
branch
how
or
they're gonna
something.
address that issue, but
Okay. All right. All right, okay, so there's motion on the table right now to accept the bid with the R240. at $138 an hour. That is not the low bid, just so everybody's aware of it.
And can I just clarify, this was done as quotations, not as bids,
Quotes.
just to be clear.
Correct.
I'll just chime in super quick. I checked with Coordinator Morris on how much you all spent last year on mowing, which was about $26,000. So that would put you for municipal contracting purposes into the quotation range. Under 25,000, you do whatever you want. 25,000, 175,000 where you're falling, you need to get 2 quotations, which you've done. You've done them in a way to where you've set it like it sounds like a sealed bid process, but it's my understanding you didn't follow the full sealed bid process. You just set a deadline for people to get quotations into you. You're now looking at a quotation that would put you in that range. You've received 2, so you're good. The only reason I want to clarify that is because if you do a sealed bid process, even in that $25,000 to $175,000 range where you just need 2 quotes, if you start the sealed bid process, you have to follow it. You have to give it to the low bid. So I just want to clarify for the record, despite the use of bid and you setting a time on when you opened them, it was not the full sealed bid process. You received quotations, which you are now making a motion to award one of the quotations that you've received.
They weren't all sealed. One came in an envelope and 2 were dropped off, I think,
Yep.
wasn't it? Yeah, so,
Just want to.
but yeah, thanks for the clarification. The other thing, just so that everybody's also aware, is last year we had them use a boom mower in order to do a lot of the brushing, kind of trying to open up signage and stuff so people could see better. That's why the number pumped up to $26,000. Typically, we're in that $12,000 to $15,000 range if we're just mowing the ditches, and that's what we're gonna be doing this year. So anybody that's had issues with us trimming their bushes in front of their house, we will not be doing that this year. Okay. All right. Any other discussion before we?
Is there, so what was the? They just sent them in saying this is what I have, this, or is there, from here, then we have a contract with them, or? That was asked, that was approached, and I didn't know what he had or what they were doing, because they were asking me, I'm like, I don't know, so they were just submitting. So then from here, then we do the terms of what that is, or what do we,
Contractors were asking you?
just the process on what,
Yeah, I guess Supervisor Ledke's point is, to his understanding, this is just an hourly rate that they've quoted us. You could do a contract just upon an hourly rate, and that would be it's not a fixed price contract. We're locking you in for $15,000 worth of work at this rate, right? It would be a variable contract at a fixed price. So however much you need, they give you that much at that price. I still think it would be advisable to authorize the board to approve negotiating a final contract and having a contract that defines when they're going to cut, where they're going to cut, that type of stuff. So I think the motion tonight should be to proceed with moving forward with one company, but still having a contract contingent attorney review and board review. So that way you guys have a contract with the mowing company.
And point of clarification, this is based on the contract that Mark did for us when we had him go through all our service contracts and update them. So this came from, pardon me?
Nice, yeah.
Yeah,
Forgot
so
about that.
yeah, so it all had all the references of quotes. The contract is actually included. It's just a 1-page. It's a 1-page thing that they provide back on listing out their contact information, what equipment, and what their hourly rate was going to be for it. And then there was also in what Mark did, I think it's a 2-page contract that once we award the bid or award the quote, once we award that work, then they'll come in and they'll actually sign the contract with us before they start work. Yeah. So, yeah, it's back in a board packet back, I don't know, a long time ago. If you want a blank copy of that, the office has it on file too. So, all right, we got a motion on the table. Any other discussion before we act on it? All right, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nay.
I'll abstain, not knowing what we got.
Okay, 3-1-1. Motion passes. All right, move on to 7.6. This is the town clerk request for action.
You might want to go back to 7.4.
Okay, let's go
skip
back
that
to
one.
7.4.
We skipped that one.
Is that mine?
Yeah.
Okay,
I'm
I was
sorry.
wondering.
I was leaning you into that one.
Okay,
All right, thank you.
all right, so this one is website subscribe to updates. So this came out of the parks workshop. I just came up with, so they want a spot for people to subscribe to specifically park stuff. We talked about it a bit. There was, I think, a legitimate concern that we don't want this area to just grow into like a massive number of options. And so I basically just went in and I proposed two options. So one is very simple. Option one, we just add parks, events, and notices as its own top level area, because Parks was concerned that if it goes under the recent news and notices postings, that somebody might uncheck them, like I would uncheck that area, and then they would just be lumped in with those. And so they wanted to be a top level area. So option one just adds them as a top level. But then there's concern, we don't want this thing to just grow forever. And so option two is a little more aggressive in terms of the change that it would pose, but I think it would also make it a little more organized for the future. And so what I put here was, again, parks, events, and notices becomes a top level category in both options, but in option two, the existing recent news and notices posting, and there's a visual for this in the packet. It's gonna be hard to explain verbally, but option two condenses the second grouping of notices into just two top level notices, which is community news and events and public notices. So previously it was recent news and notices postings, community news and events, public notices and meetings, elections and opportunities, and special recognition. What option two would be is condensing all of that stuff into community news and events, public notices. That's it. Just two top level plus the addition of parks and notices. So those are the two options I'm proposing. I'm more or less fine with either one. But I'll hear what you guys think.
I like option two.
Okay. All right, let me find my motion. I'm gonna motion to remove the recent news. I'm gonna motion to do option two, which is to remove the recent news and notices postings parent group and replace it with three flat top level categories: parks, events, and notices, community news and events, and public notices, which is renamed. Retiring the elections and opportunities and special recognitions categories with their content moved under public notices or community news and events.
I will second.
Okay, motion was made and seconded from Sam and Andy. Any discussion? So under option two then, so we'll have cemetery committee, parks committee, planning and zoning commission, road and bridge committee, town board, and township annual meeting.
Yep, so that first section remains unchanged.
Perfect. Like it. Any other comments? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed. Motion carries 5-0.
Alicia, are you able to work with Town Web? Okay, great.
Sorry, I missed you. All right. Would you like to talk town clerk?
Yes, I do.
All right, floor's yours.
So I am very excited to present this RFA to you guys. I am requesting that you approve offering a full-time employment offer to Kyle Solage for the town clerk at $30 an hour. I went through really close to 75 resumes. We got down to shortlisted 4 candidates, and Kyle just really demonstrated knowledge and skills and experience that I feel would be a huge benefit to the township.
All right. Any questions? Yeah, go ahead, Sam.
Who interviewed him?
I interviewed them along with Paige from Abdo, so myself in HR, and then John actually ended up sitting in on 3 out of the 4 interviews. He was there on Friday.
Did you sit in on him?
Yes.
What'd you think?
I don't want to insult the others, but he was extremely impressive.
Okay.
It was, I didn't really think that there was much of a question in it, to be honest with you. The other candidates were very, very, very strong. He just had experience that aligns really well with what we're doing and where we're going. So that was the main reason why I leaned pretty hard on him. Like I said, the other three could have done an amazing job also. But their skill sets weren't quite aligned with where we were at.
We talked about the clerk potentially hiring somebody who was not a clerk before, but maybe had like relevant skills and was willing to learn. Is that kind of what this guy is, or does he have clerk experience?
One area that he has a lot of experience in, if you don't mind me saying, is elections.
Oh, great.
So you've got a person that's gonna come in that is about as well versed on elections and running them and the ins and outs as you can possibly get. So
Okay.
the nice thing is the timing of bringing this person in will allow them to acclimate into the environment prior to the general election. So it couldn't be better timing to bring this person in.
What was our initial salary range that we were aiming for?
28 to 35.
Okay, and he's 30?
Mhm.
And when can he start?
He would have to give for sure 2 weeks. So we did briefly talk about a potential start date, and he was thinking maybe the last week in August.
Okay. That's all I got.
I
So we
will-
just,
Oh, sorry. I was just gonna add that he does have deputy clerk experience as well. So he has experience doing minutes, meetings,
Okay.
agendas, packets, things like that, as well as attending extremely late meetings. So he did that with, I believe it was the city of Edina or Eden Prairie. I get the two mixed up.
yeah. Can't remember either. Yeah. Have you worked out a start date yet with him?
We did not finalize the start date.
Okay. All right, so what you're looking for tonight is board approval to be able to make the offer, or send an offer letter to Kyle?
Yes. Yep. I put a proposed motion at the bottom of my RFA, but
Okay.
feel free to tweak it if anyone would prefer. Or saying.
All right, it's the board's pleasure.
I'd like to move forward with him. I don't know what the motion should say.
Hiring.
Whoever's got it in
Yeah.
front of them.
Was
Well, I
gonna
think
say,
it's written
from-
out, right?
Who's
Do I
got it
have
written
it?
down?
I'll make a motion.
Go ahead, Dan.
I'll make a motion to approve the hiring of Kyle Sage, subject to successful completion of all pre-employment requirements to the town clerk position in the town hall office at the rate of $30 an hour.
I'll second it. That's what I was trying to say.
Great. All right, motion's been made and seconded by Dan and Sam. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, motion carries 5-0. And Alicia, I want to say thank you on behalf of the board, because I know that wasn't easy and you had a lot of phone interviews that you had to wade through, not to mention all the applications and stuff, so thank you very much for everything you went through. I think we got a solid person coming in,
Huge win.
Huge win.
and the board didn't have to have 16 meetings to make it happen this time. All right, 7-6 is done. We'll move on to old business. Planning and zoning committee seat terms. We had a discussion at great length at the last meeting and chose to table this to this meeting. Anybody wanna have any discussion? Any questions or comments?
I'll pick it up. So we tabled it at the last meeting. We had approved one person, but I had mentioned that I really want to see some change on this committee, and there's a lot of hesitancy about removing the person who's most experienced on the committee. And so we tabled it. I wanted to look more closely at the rest of the committee to see if maybe it would be worthwhile, like making some change somewhere else. And based on what I'm seeing this week, I don't think that would be fair. I think that my position is I would like to still see Joe Adolphe removed. And I think that is going to be the most impactful in terms of getting a new result out of this committee. So that's where I stay.
Okay, any other comments? Just gonna reiterate what I said last time. He has a lot of years of experience. You can't replace that. You can't put a value on it. I think, the two options I think there is to, when you have one person in an organization or a committee or board that is, more outgoing, others seem to kind of withdraw. And I think that if we can maybe position that board a little differently, and set it up to where people will step up a little bit more, that it might right that ship. The other thing that I'm a little bit more comfortable with is that the ordinance that was in existence before that we've reapproved, gives the board the ability to make changes on any one of the committees at any time with anybody. So if we move to go one way with the planning and zoning commission and we're not happy, we're not seeing what we're hoping to see over the next few months, we can always bring it back and make another change. So because of that, I'm a little bit more comfortable moving forward. Some people might call it a risk. I don't think it's a risk. I think it's the right way to go. Lisa, any comments?
So I did have several residents come up to me and they would like to see Joel Dolphy stay on the committee. So since our meeting, I have had none otherwise. So.
Dan?
I've had other people come and ask me to support getting rid of them. I'm kind of torn because as you said, and I like Joe, but sometimes I feel like his way is the only way and he isn't open to making changes. And that's the part I have an issue with. Can't get clear-cut reasons on certain things and I just don't feel that that's what the committee needs.
Yeah. If I'm gonna rebut that a little bit, I see exactly what you're saying. And I do support it to a certain degree, but I also look at, like with my kids when they were growing up, I always told them, I expect you to make mistakes. But when I talk to you and I explain about the mistake, I don't expect you to repeat the mistake. In all honesty, I've looked at this. I had a 2-hour conversation with Joe. I don't think that this stuff came before Joe and to his attention until it started blowing up like this. And so that was kind of his first, like, am I doing something wrong and what is it? And I think that was the first opportunity he had to actually understand that he is more dominant down there and the other people have to come up. So to me, I can't prove if that's true or not, or if it would right itself unless we try it. And my thought is to allow Joe to continue. And I think we need to deal with that one before we deal with the rest of it. But my opinion is to leave Joe on the board with the condition that he steps down as the chairperson, and allow somebody else to fill that position. And then we can monitor and watch and see. And I also think that the other 4 people that are sitting on that committee have also seen and heard where we've said that they need to step up. They need to be more vocal. They need to be more of a player in it. So I think 5 people have learned from this, not just one. So that's why I'm a little bit more comfortable taking that shot of letting them on the board or leaving them on the board at least for a few months and see how things go. At least I think you had your hand up first. Okay, Sam?
Yeah, I'm trying to process what you said, so I can respond to that. But I had something else I wanted to say too. But no, I think you're right. So, the 100%, this is probably the first bit of negative feedback that board has received because giving negative feedback, constructive or otherwise, is very difficult to do on a board that cannot meet in private and discuss these things. So sometimes things have to blow up and it kind of stinks. That was the intention not to bring up the email, but that was the intention of the email is to try to, without overstepping any boundaries, try to ease into this. So I agree with what you're saying. I think the message has been received, hopefully. I don't know how individuals will take it. Sometimes people respond negatively to that kind of thing. And I'm not saying that I've delivered the feedback in a perfectly minimal manner, but the one, and I will take stepping down from, that's better than nothing. The one hesitancy I have is there's been times in this township and there's been times in my professional career where it is very hard to remove somebody. It's very awkward and uncomfortable to remove somebody, but you end up doing it and it is just always the right decision when there is an attitude problem. And I won't bring up specifics, but there's been times where the change from somebody moving on and when you're not sure, is it too much to ask them to remove them? You give it a month and you think, why didn't we do it sooner? So that's the other part where I'm a little divided. Is part of me thinks if we don't make a change now, I don't think we will, because it is so uncomfortable to do. I don't ever want to bring this up again. And so, if he's on the board, that's probably going to be the end.
And yeah, first of all, the stuff that you put together was spot on, and Joe said that too. There was absolutely nothing that you put in your document that was wrong, and he went back and validated it all. So what was identified was some issues that needed to be addressed. If he was an employee, we wouldn't just meet with him and say, hey, you've been screwing up and you're fired, unless it was something illegal. We would meet with the employee and say, hey, you're not going in the right direction, and here's some corrective action that we're going to take. And we would work with them on correcting that. We'd give them a chance. And in this case, we're not doing that. I realize they're not an employee, but that's where I've got some issues with it. And I will tell you right now, because we've addressed it. It's on the table. I can tell you right now that if there's not a change to planning and zoning in 2 months, 3 months, I will be happy to bring it back before this board, and I will absolutely change my vote.
Okay.
So I mean, that's that, and I will, I promise you. Yeah, so that's how I feel about it. It's been kind of the elephant in the room. Is there anybody that wants to make any other comments?
I'll just make brief comment, Chair Olson, on just kind of the legal side of things here. With the mechanism that you're proposing of Joe stepping down for him staying on, that is something Joe would need to voluntarily do, given you have city or town code in place. It's section 2-7-3 that allows the Planning and Zoning Commission to elect its own chair and vice chair. So you've delegated that authority via ordinance. You can't change that without ordinance. So Joe would need to voluntarily make that choice to step down. The board can't order him to stay on but no longer serve as chair. So just keep that in mind when making any motion and making any decisions tonight, that is not within the purview of the board's authority tonight. You could at any point in time change your ordinance to change that, make the board appoint. That's all within, but it won't happen tonight.
Thank you so much for that, Mark. All right, I'm gonna take a shot at a motion. We'll just see what happens. Let's get past this thing. I'm gonna make a motion to reappoint Joe Dolphy to this current term, the new term. And then make sure I got this right, the wording right. Reappoint him with the condition that he voluntarily steps down as the chairperson of planning and zoning. There's the motion. All right, motion's been made and seconded. Any other discussion?
Could we make a chair or a vice chair?
I'll make a friendly amendment to make that chair or vice chair. Yep, thank you. You accept the amendment? All right.
Okay.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
I oppose.
Okay, motion passes 4-0. All right, let's go on to 8.1.2. This is for James Garrison. Any discussion on James?
I just,
I was gonna motion to reappoint James Garrison.
Okay, motions made. Is there a second? And we'll go into discussion.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Discussion, Dan?
I just looking at his application, I'm looking at other applications that we got are a lot more experience and I'd like to see more experience on the planning and zoning. So, I mean, he might have more, but that's not what he put on his application. So, and that's all I can go by.
No, I see the same thing. Sam?
100% agree. Had that exact same thought. But I also could see myself having been he's been on the board for like almost 10 years. Resubmitting this over and over and eventually get a little lazy about it. And so I don't want to penalize him too heavily, but I agree. I would like to see, I feel like we got some really good letters.
But there's some great people that applied and
So
if you want to make changes, we have to make them. We can't keep going the way we're going. So,
Yeah, I agree with you, Dan.
you know, you got to make hard decisions sooner or later.
Mhm.
So there's people that have come to me and said, I joined the board, but there's certain people on the board that till they're gone, I'm not going to get on it. So,
I guess my issue though is just like if there's anybody who we're gonna remove, why I feel James Garrison, it feels a little random to me.
no, you're right. It does.
And that's where I was getting at. That's why we postponed this vote, because I was like, and I was looking at the other members this week and I was just like, I don't feel good about taking off another member when I've got a problem with one. And so that's where I'm
All
kind
I
of like,
can go with is what they put on the application.
that's true.
You know, it's no different than any of us applying for something, right? I mean, when I
Yeah.
applied for the seat, I put in the effort to do it. So I expect that out of people. Like, I'm not just gonna say, you're hired. And I mean, I know he's already on the board. I get that, but you know what I'm saying? I
know
don't know
exactly.
I don't know how else to put it. It's,
No, yeah.
To me, I like Jim. I mean, I like him a lot. He's a very nice guy.
I'm sure he is. I don't know him and I
I-
can't go by, you know,
But when I looked at his application, when I looked at everybody's application, including the letters of interest, it was clear everybody put a lot of effort into it. I mean, even if you looked at Joe Dolphy's, I mean, he filled out every space between there in those paragraphs. Where Jim, it was one word answers. I can't even think of one in there off the top of my head where he answered it with more than one word. Well, actually, there was a sentence that P and Z enforces code, which wasn't correct anyway. But yeah, if you look at it at face value, I sat there and looked at it and was like, I know Jim knows more than that. But the effort wasn't there. So how bad does he really want it? You know, that's the question that I had in my head.
There is another part to this, which I wasn't really planning on bringing up tonight, but so if we're talking about this, I may as well bring it up. I was looking at the voting history with the help of Alicia, a lot of emails to Alicia. They're in Laserbeach. I was looking at the voting history of planning and zoning. And it's a little unclear because since 2021, they don't tally the votes by person. They just do the final result. So it'd be like 4-3 or whatever. It won't tell you who voted what. James Garrison and Joe Dolphy are the oldest members. They've both been on since the longest serving members. They've both been on since before 2017, I think. And there's not a single record of them voting against each other. I believe for most of the years, there are, for the entire year, one vote that was not unanimous. And I think that was 2024, 2023, 2022. And again, those votes, they don't tally. So I don't know exactly who it was, but I'd wager, 10 years on the board together, I'd expect to see a little, I'm very friendly with all of you. I've voted against all of you multiple times and I've been on this board for a year. So I'll throw that out there. I mean, that was one thing I was thinking about coming in tonight is if I was going to choose one, I'd rather choose James Garrison. That's why I'm a little, but I agree. Having both of them on is a little difficult. I'm sympathetic to what you're saying.
All right, any other discussions? We've got a motion on the table. You
I
have
just
something,
said,
Andy?
just to speak to, we just threw this process out to 3 weeks before the
Yeah.
the appointments. And to know that it was changed up and not everything done, and then this board just is taking action and wants to see change. You just spoke to letting 5 people see it. I don't know why you wouldn't let that, everyone have that opportunity.
Or you didn't follow that?
I did.
Okay.
I didn't understand what you're saying.
The last motion was speaking to 5 people took a message. And now you're speaking of being punitive to somebody in the last 3 weeks of changing something, that the result of the last, how many weeks you're speaking about somebody else. See the 5 people make their change.
Yeah, I think I agree with Andy. Ultimately, it's super tricky. But I think he's right. If we're given opportunities to correct, I think James Garrison is afforded an opportunity as much as other people. But it's close. I'm telling you, with all this stuff, it's close for me. This has been a difficult issue.
I agree.
Again, we can bring any of this back in a couple months, and we should probably have it come back in a couple months just to, 3-4 months, give them enough time to make the change and then just bring it back for a short discussion. Because everybody, like I said, everybody has an option to see and hear this for the first time, and maybe they'll self-correct. All right.
I hope planning and zoning sees this as like their job is important. It's not. This is a big deal.
Very important. Yeah. All right.
I did talk with him and all that, and I kind of expressed I would kind of like to see some new blood on there. And he said if it comes up to that, he would be fine stepping down and so I don't know if that's, because I like James too, so
Yeah.
he's done a good job. But the 2 new people sound really good too. I just like the people to vote for. This is a hard job trying to decide which ones to.
James was here. I actually wish we were still at a 7-person board, because then we would have had space for 2 new people on
I
there.
know.
2
I like
different
the
ideas.
applications a lot.
I was thinking that earlier.
And it costs us what, $35 to change that in the ordinance? $35 for posting, right?
About that.
I don't want to increase it though. I think that was still the right move, even though it sucks right now.
All right, motion's on the table. So any other comments about this topic?
So I'm just wondering, we never asked them how, is it easier for planning and zoning if there's 7 or 5? Because I don't do the job. Sometimes you need to ask who's doing it, what is best to work it.
Is that a question or comment?
Yeah.
Thanks. Thanks.
It's like,
Hey, nobody ever said it was easy sitting up here. I'll tell you that. So, all right, let's adjust. Unless there's another comment, let's get the motion over. All right, motion was to reappoint James Garrison. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
and I,
No pressure.
can I abstain?
You wish it was that easy. How many do we have for and how many against? It's 2-2 right now, right? Yeah.
You want to restart from the beginning?
Um,
I know it's a tough call.
I like this other one too.
You know, both candidates that want in are awesome candidates too. That's tough. Would you like to have more discussion about it?
Nay.
All right, motion fails 2-3. All right, so that leaves an open seat on planning and zoning. So is there a motion or any discussion regarding the two applicants? Got Tyler Beck and we got Robert Kraft.
I'd like to make a motion to add Robert Kraft to the planning and zoning.
Okay, there's a motion to add Robert Kraft. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded from Dan and Sam. Any discussions?
I like both candidates, honestly. I just looking at his experience and I don't have the sheet in front of me now, but, all the experience he has in planning and zoning that I think is a huge plus to the committee. Both of them. But that was just my choice.
I felt the same way. Both of them would have been great on the and zoning commission, but yeah, I thought Robert Kraft probably had a little bit of more alignment. So any other comments? Discussion? All right, hearing none. All in favor of appointing Robert Kraft to planning and zoning, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Alicia, can you handle contacting everybody? All right, thank you.
Thank you to Jim Garrison for his many years of service.
I agree. Yeah.
Yes.
Thanks.
Sincerely.
Thank you.
Not only on planning and zoning, but he's ran, I don't know how many annual meetings here as well. So he's been our chairperson of those, so.
Is he the one who's been around us?
Yep.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that was the same person.
Yep, same one. So, he's always willing to step up. So,
He's very nice. I've always enjoyed my brief interactions with him.
all right, we, Xed out, 8.2, we'll go to 8.3, which is the retaining the Kubota tractor. Miss Lisa.
All right, so we had discussed it in our meetings and I just want to finalize it with a vote. We will not build, I mean, we got it with a grant, but we would not be able to replace it. It is being used. That's been used and the skidster is used. The residents would have to wait less time to where otherwise if they're out getting organics, and they need help unloading to get things in the dumpster. It's just gets the line going through quicker. So I would like to make a motion of removing the tractor from the auction.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded from Lisa and Dan. And any discussion?
What do the recycling staff say about this?
They're asking for that also. Cause they said people making these decisions ain't working back here.
Well,
That's why
That's
I
very
use,
true, though.
that's why I use that line, yeah.
You two, two of you are.
yeah.
But it just helps it move the lines through. I mean, if it's a busy day. Cause there's some days where you're back in organics all the time. And then, if you got someone getting heavy that needs something in the dumpster, they have to wait until the organics, you can have 2-3 trailers that he's loading up and then you get the lineup waiting to unload for the appliances.
How much are we selling it for? hopefully.
The estimate that we got back from Cat was that we should get about 18,000 out of it with the implements.
And we're replacing it with like a skid steer or
We
something?
already did.
We already did.
We purchased the skid, when we purchased the skid steer, part of the reason why we did it was because we felt that if we would sell the Kubota, that would offset some of the cost, and there was a couple other things that will also help offset the cost.
How much was the skid steer?
72,000, something like that.
That's tough.
Yeah, but we had some of it in capital.
No, I mean, it's stuff that we were counting. We're counting on 18 grand from this.
Yeah, so I'll get to you in 1 second, Ed. So I've spent a lot of time talking to people and trying to figure this out because, you know, when you make a major purchase and you say that you're gonna use money from the sale of one thing, it's kind of hard to not do that. However, we still don't know yet exactly how we're gonna come out at the end of the year. We're gonna be above or below budget. So my thought is that I'm not too concerned right now making the decision, because we could also make the decision in the fall, you know, to get rid of it and still be able to move it. It's a desired piece of equipment. So it's not like we're gonna have trouble getting rid of it. So I think delaying that would be fine. And just see where we are at the end of the year. And if we're not hurting, leave it there. I think part of the problem is that some people are more comfortable using one piece of equipment over another. So if you've got 4 guys back there, 5 guys, whatever it is, guys and ladies that are running the equipment, you probably have 2 that are very, very comfortable to skid steer and prefer to skid steer. And you probably got 2 that are scared of it because it's a different piece of equipment. And I think that's more of the reason why the people a couple of them want to keep the Kubota, is because it's more comfortable. And so do I want to push them into running the skid steer if they're uncomfortable? If we don't have to right now, maybe, like I said, maybe delaying it. Dan?
I'm with you on delaying it because I would rather keep it, because any piece of equipment that's paid for, my opinion, should be kept if it's being used. As far as running a skidster, I'd have to bet that 90% of the people back there are not trained in running a skidster. And they are dangerous pieces of equipment. So that's one issue I have with it. I had, I knew how to run a skidster before I took my job, and they still made me go through training to take it, to use it. So to me, it's a safety concern too. So
Yeah, that's why I said I don't know if I want to push them into
Right.
doing something that they're uncomfortable
so
with.
it's kind of up in the air.
Is that in the job description for folks who work back there?
Not specifically to run a skid steer, but I think it does say equipment.
Order coordinator can put it in there.
Yeah.
I mean, if that's the direction you want to push.
Sure.
If you have it back there too, I would say from a liability perspective, get people trained on it.
You were next, Lisa.
I know when I voted for it, I prefer driving the skidster, and I did not think about the weight and all that, but seeing that we are using both, because it does, otherwise there's a lineup. I've seen that, last summer before with just the tractor, and I didn't consider it when I did vote but I would have been just one vote anyway, so.
I like when I go back there on a Saturday and I see Andy because he's running skid steer to the loader, to the skid steer to the loader. So, Sam, you're next.
To Dan's point, I think you're right. A piece of paid equipment's worth keeping. But you guys are gonna have to explain, because I'm dumb, what's the difference between these? Is there a lot of overlap between a skid steer and a tractor? No, they do different jobs,
Yeah, they
significantly
they
different.
do the same
They
job,
the
but they do
same,
it
but
differently.
They do it. Yeah. I mean,
What is a skid steer? It's like a little forklift thing? Forklift?
like a Bobcat?
Like a Bobcat, okay, I know what a Bobcat.
Same.
So it's smaller.
It's a skidster. Basically, Bobcat's a brand. John Deere, they're
Right.
all skidsters.
So
They're-
it's smaller than a tractor.
No, it's larger.
Oh, it is.
Well, it depends. It's larger than our tractor.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so it's a nice machine,
Mhm.
but in the wrong hands,
So but there's not enough overlap. Like, these are two different, they serve two different purposes.
Well, they do the same thing. You can still load brush, you can still, the skid steer is more versatile because we've got attachments, so you can grab brush, it's got a grapple. It's got other equipment. We also use it not just for recycling, but we use it for clearing off the skating rinks in the winter. So there's a lot of accessories, so it's more broadly used than the Kubota. But the Kubota is like an overgrown lawn tractor, so for some people, they like it because they sit up and there's nothing blocking their view. They can, wherever they turn, they can see, you know, what they're doing.
Okay.
So operation is very much different.
I guess what I would say is if there's one thing I know about this township, it's that we have trouble maintaining our equipment sometimes. And so I think that keeping equipment, if we don't have to, is a liability. And if the only difference between these is training and staff comfort using them, I'd rather get the staff trained and get rid of equipment. But I'm gonna rely on you guys. I don't know that much about this stuff, so you guys are gonna have to tell me where I'm wrong.
If we delay it, we've got until fall. Andy, you're next.
Yeah, for me, it's just not making any financial decisions till we know. I mean, that was the intent of what we did. Not saying to go back if we have a windfall of revenue in some way, shape or form, but to completely say we're not going to do this and then come to find where are we gonna find this money? And there's other operational things that staff has said in recycling that would reduce the wait times in lines. We've already discussed, we have to move the dumpsters off of our septic because that's more cost to us than some of the wait time impacts, in my opinion. And I think the residents would agree to that if they didn't have to buy a new septic system just to trade it. So there's nothing pressing for time.
Right.
I don't want to then make a decision and then go back to a decision and go back to a decision. It's a holding pattern. Recycling is open Thursday, drive the Kubota.
Lisa?
I could make the amendment that we keep it with the option that if we do need the money in the future, we can sell it then, but I really think we should totally consider keeping it.
Any comments before we act on the motion?
Is there a second?
Oh, yeah. Ed, I think you were first and then we'll take you next.
I just want to say, when we bought that Kubota, it was bought strictly for the recycling center and with recycling money from the county. It was only to be used for the recycling center. When I purchased it, they said it can't be used for the rest of the township uses.
Okay, all right, thank you. On up.
So I'd say the recycling center owns it, the township don't.
Ken Galbranson, 5201 239th Avenue. And I've worked in recycling and I've also made a lot of trips there today. And even when I'm not working there, I see the Kubota working 9 times out of 10 instead of the skid steer. You know, that's just what I've seen as, you know, and to sell it for 18,000 and then decide that you need to replace it, well, you're gonna come up with a lot more money to replace it later on. So I'd say keep it and then find out later if you need money. And that's my vote.
Very good. Thank you, Kent. Good to see you again, too. Yeah, Steve?
Steve Kramer, 7960 Fond Lake Drive. I've got Kubotas. I have a lot of Kubotas. I have skidsters. I have excavators. I have a lot of equipment. My preferred one for doing yard type stuff, basically what would be considered like the recycling center area, moving equipment, moving stuff. You brought up the skidster has attachments. Well, I can tell you Kubota has just as many attachments for the front of that machine. They have grapple hooks. They have a lot of equipment. So to say the skidster is kind of the cream, yeah, it can do a lot, you know. But also I do know with skidsters, they tear everything up. If you got the wrong driver on there, they tear everything up. Okay? So you're gonna constantly be cleaning up messes from that machine by itself. So you're gonna have more time to clean up. The tractor doesn't tear it up, you know, it moves smoothly and runs around. So I mean, for the operation at recycle center, we're saving time of cleaning up after the skidster, tearing up. Now, for the mulch area and stuff like that, that's gonna get tore up, get it. But for unloading people's equipment and stuff like that, throwing it in the dumpsters, you don't have to clean up after the skidster. So just something to consider. Cause I mean, we do have a kind of a yard back there. And they drive on the grass with this tractor just because of everybody being there to unload stuff. So it's something to consider, you know, maintenance of a yard. So, and Kubota, they are a good piece of equipment. Breakdowns are very minimum, at least from my experiences. And like we said, or they said before, is that, you know, yeah, 18,000 you get out of that machine. Yes, Kubota's got a good name, but also I just priced up a new machine to replace that machine. You're talking $60,000-$70,000. Okay, so something to consider. Knowing that machine has probably got low hours on it, it's probably gonna go for another 10 years. So that's just my point of view.
Great. Thank you,
We're in a
Steve.
Kubota hat.
I was gonna say that.
Here is.
I am. I might have orange underwear too, just like
Bias there, Steve.
Nothing gets by the attorney. All right, any other comments before we make a move on this?
So essentially is this motion to just do nothing?
The motion is to, basically the motion is to, we were gonna get rid of it, so as we've been planning out the sale of items, it was on the list, so I think the intent
To
is that it's gonna be removed from the sale list.
I think the motion still needs a second.
Dan,
Oh, Dan did.
Oh, Dan,
Yeah,
okay, good.
and I think there was an amendment which came from Supervisor Henriksen, which was to, if we want to sell it later, we can sell it, which was proposed as an amendment, hasn't been seconded. Technically doesn't need to happen because the board can just sell it at any point. So you could rescind that amendment and it
I
puts us
can
back in the
rescind
same
I
place.
rescind the amendment, just vote on it, just.
Okay, so just the original motion. So the motion on the table, just to be clear, is that we take the Kubota off from the sale list and retain it at this point. All right, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed?
So it was to take it off the list
Not sell it right now is what she said.
and still sellable.
Take it
Board
off
can
the
make it
auction,
sellable at any time in the future.
Yeah.
Board can
In the
change its
future,
mind,
if
change
we
its
decide
policy.
we need
just to
the
take it
money-
off the auction list. Auction item list.
I'm not for it until we know our finances. So I guess, yeah.
Okay, all right, so that passes
I don't know
5-0.
what we talked about, actually.
It's not that we can't bring it back. So, all right, so that's to the end of the action, but I need to apologize because there's one thing I was gonna put onto the agenda that I didn't. With permission from the board, I would like to add an agenda item, which is the payment on the fire truck.
A second.
Okay, so if everybody's okay with that, John motioned, Sam seconded. All in favor to add this on to the agenda, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, okay. So I don't know how many people got to see it, or at least if you drove by, but we took delivery on the new fire truck this afternoon. So it was parked over in front of the fire hall. It's beautiful. So when we had purchased it, we used some grant money to pay for roughly half of it. The original motion, as I recall, was to approve up to $1.2 million to buy this truck. The total amount came to less than $1 million. It was 978,000, I think it was, and then they took a couple discounts off. Another almost $19,000 off from that price. So I think we did pretty darn good on it. So I should say, fire department did really good on it. They stayed on top of this thing all the way through. They were supposed to take receipt on this a week and a half ago or so. They went and did inspection. They turned it down. And so they did some more work on it and then they finally accepted it here today. So per the contract that we have with Rosenbauer is that we have 1 week after taking delivery to make final payment. Final payment on the truck after the discounts, the remaining balance is $472,327. And what we did, if you remember right, we had 2 CDs that we cashed out so we could offset that cost. One of the CDs was $120,323.83. The other CD was $143,124.92. According to my math, that leaves a balance that we have to come up with of $208,878.25. Okay, so if we can figure out where we want to fund that from tonight, then Alicia would be able to issue a check within the 1 week. So we fall within the contract. I had a couple thoughts. When we originally did the motion a couple years ago, we talked about bonding their balance, but now we're paying a pretty huge amount of interest on that. We've also talked, we've got 4 more CDs, so there's a possibility of cashing in 1 or more CDs to offset that cost. And to your point that you made the last time we had this discussion, you said if we use any CDs that you want us to earmark money so that we put it back. So we continue to build those CDs back up. So it's really kind of taking a loan against the CDs is the way I look at it. The other is that we do operate, example is in, I think 2025, I think the lowest point our checking account got to was like 1.54 million, something like that. So I mean, we could draw that 208 out of general funds. And then we can do some work there on building the general fund back up. The other one was, and I tried to find it and I apologize, I could not find it on short notice, but if you remember it, we've talked about a communications fund. And we bring in $30,000 in rent off from the cell tower across the street. And that continues to go into a communication fund. I think, and Andy, you probably know this better than I do, I think it's part of our general capital, isn't it? Okay, but I think that's in there. When we went through the budget stuff here a year ago, I thought that there was a little over $200,000 in that account. So what's happening is that the only thing that we use money out of the communications fund for is communications related things. So a laptop, a network adapter, those kind of things. So it's very minor use with that. In 2019, it got up to a number like 300,000, give or take. And so at that time, the board made a motion to move 200 and some odd $1,000 from communications over to, I think it was general funds. But anyhow, they moved it out. And the only way that you can move money between these funds, as we found out here this spring, is by unanimous vote of the board. If one person votes against it, we can't move money between accounts. So I tried to find it, like I said, but I think there's 200 and some odd $1,000 in that communications fund. Me personally, I would have, if I could prove that we had the 200 and some odd thousand in communications, I would have made the recommendation of the board to take the 208,000 balance and take that out of communications, reallocate it over to general fund or fire capital, and then make the final payment from there between that and the 2 CDs. That way we're not messing with general funds. We still keep all that stuff. We keep the CDs in place, but to me, the 2 best options is going to be the communications fund. If we can prove that we've got the money in there. If not, then I think the next option is probably the CDs with the agreement that we build them back up. Sam?
Why don't we just motion to move the balance. This isn't a motion. Why don't we do a motion to just move the full balance of the communications fund over to general? That's some amount of money. Do the CDs for just cash flow, getting it paid immediately. And then at the next meeting, we'll know how much moved over and then we can talk about putting that back into the CDs.
Okay. I mean, the other option too is that, because if we use if we use communication, we decide that we want to put something back in, I mean, we could take it from someplace else. We could take it out of a CD and stuff, but I would rather not cash in the CDs because right now we're in the middle of generating interest. So Dan?
So I'm gathering, we have enough in the communications fund to pay for this.
That was what I was trying to verify before the meeting, and that's why I walked in right at 5:30.
Anything, Andy?
So stated, we have a lot of money to spend this year. We got road and bridge as well.
Right.
This is all upfront money, and this is what's coming to a head here. The total approved amount that I just want to verify from the minutes we had was 978,620. You said
Yes.
2?
No, that was I think on the balance.
So yeah, the total approved amount was 978,620. There was, if I recall, like an $18,000 discount if we did a down payment, which we did with ARPA, and that's what you spoke to earlier. So we owe 472,327 with those two CDs. And then if we made the proposed motions to move from funds to funds, I understand it, we have roughly 180,000 remaining in fire that we did not spend, or that we were saving for this. That was part of the contribution to this truck. So that would deplete that to zero
From fire capital.
from fire capital. Because last year, out of fire capital, we bought the extrication tools. So if there's 180 in that, that takes the total down another tick from those two CDs. CDs.
Do you want the numbers?
Yeah.
So you're saying from the 208,878, you're taking
180 off from that.
180 off of that?
Yep. Okay, so the two numbers, Andy, so you got them as $120,323.83. And the second one was $143,124.92. I don't know what did you get a number yet?
So I have 443. 95. 5. That's what we have, so we're still short 30,000.
Yeah, 28,878.
Going off for the record, I'm going off of what we were presented for our end of year 2025. So in reality, we spent no capital dollars out of that fund yet. There'll be recoding that I don't have privy to, that happened in Sage, so I don't know what the skid steer came from, because that would have came from multiple capital funds. Is that the understanding?
Mhm.
Was it shared?
Yep.
So those funds that it had, I mean, we have it right now. If we're not making payments on road and bridge, we could pull the difference from there. And then do the same exercise with the road, because we're gonna have to find money to make those down payments, because road and bridge ended with a balance of 632 in the capital. So it's 1,632,490. So there's a whole lot of Rob and Peter to pay Paul.
Okay.
Fire capital would be depleted.
Right. You see the communications fund in there though?
There's no communication for a fund balance. That's the whole thing with that. As you recall with that conversation, that whole thing was probably the most, my words, not anyone else, smoke and mirror thing I've ever
Mhm.
experienced.
100%
Because we were
agree.
told we could only buy keyboards and mice with this money and we could do anything with it. So we don't have a fund balance for a communication fund that you've seen either.
Correct.
Correct. So I won't speak to communication fund in terms of what and where it's coming from. I can only speak to our actual fund balances that we have in CTAS.
Well, we have to come up with 28,878.
But with those three options right there, the two CDs and fire capital, then I would just take the rest from Road and Bridge with a unanimous motion
Mhm.
to equal it out. And
And then figure it out. when we
Figure
have
it out
more
again.
information.
like I said, 2 months ago, we knew this date was coming and that was the purpose of trying to do this. It should just plan where we're gonna do it from.
Right. So, in order to come up with the exact amount, then we would have to make a motion to move $28,878.25 from Road and Bridge Capital over to Fire Capital. Is that where you want it?
That's what it'd be, but I just wanna speak, Attorney Allsides, does this have to be a resolution? 'Cause last time we did, remember we had an actual resolution. I just wanna make sure.
I mean, it would be ideal just to be able to put it in writing. I could draft something very brief if you would like a resolution on it. I will check. I pulled up the memo that I wrote you all back in July of last year. So let me look at 36604. That's the relevant statute here. So
I see that, John. That's what the invoice, that's the invoice.
it's a super short statute. A town board may by unanimous vote may transfer a surplus beyond the needs of the current year in a town fund to any other town fund to supply a deficiency. So we don't need a resolution. If we make it crystal clear on the record tonight and Alicia makes it crystal clear in the minutes, we'll be fine.
Let's do that.
Yeah. All right, everybody okay with that being moved to Fire Capital? Then it'll be paid out from there. So that always tracked properly. Alicia, are you okay with that? That'll work for you then?
Yes.
Okay. The CDs, those now got put into general fund.
Yeah.
Right? Are we okay with those being paid out of general fund, or do we want to move that money over into Fire Capital for tracking purposes?
That's what I was gonna go to next week. It's in the general fund or is it in the general capital? Like where did the CDs cash out to? Just cause that obviously happened this year. My capital data is as of 12/31/25
They just went to general fund.
fund. Okay,
Yeah.
so yeah, I think for the best accounting we can show is that if we're looking to write a check for 472,327, somehow we make fire capital equal
Right.
472,327.
Yeah, otherwise,
For the
yeah,
future budgeters. Now I'm starting to understand why we ran into so many difficulties when we were doing the budget, trying to figure out the line items. And stuff like this.
yep. That's why we have a treasurer. All right. Just trying to get the numbers right here. Andy, I don't know if you did your math on this, just to confirm, adding the two CDs together, I come up with 263,000. I'll let you finish.
$263,448.75.
Yes, correct. Yep. All right, and these should be two separate motions, right, Mark?
Yes.
Yeah. All right, I'll move to transfer $28,878.25 from Road and Bridge Capital to Fire Capital. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded by John and Andy. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. But I'll make another motion to transfer $263,448.75 from general fund to Fire Capital.
Second.
Motions have been made and seconded from John and Andy. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. So now we have the $472,327 available in Fire Capital. So now, thanks, Kent. Now we need to make a motion to authorize the treasurer to cut that check because that was not part of claims.
Can I tell you the claims number?
Did you put it in claims?
No,
Oh, okay.
but they're sequential, so
Hmm,
then I can just give it to you,
got it.
if that's okay.
Yes.
So it would be claim number 39557.
All right. Gonna do that with Andy, or you want me to?
I would do that. I would have you do it with the caveat of making sure she gets pennies and takes them from the general fund so she can, I don't want what we just did to have her be shortfall on a claim and then we can sort through later.
All right. All right, I'll make a motion to authorize the treasurer to pay claim number 39557 in the amount of $472,327 to Rosenbauer Equipment. Is that their name? For the purchase of the fire engine.
Second.
Okay, motions have been made and seconded by Andy and John. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. All right, thanks for everybody's patience. I'm sorry I didn't get this on the agenda right away, but it was important. Township now owns Austin Fire Truck.
Sweet.
Yep.
Do I get
that's-
to drive it?
Mm.
Don't have a CDL.
As soon as you get trained on a Kubota.
Actually, Steve trained me on it on my first day in recycling.
All right, okay, let's get through this. So right now, is there anything else to come before the board on this thing before we do the meetings? Okay, town board monthly workshop, August 4th at 5:30. Town board workshop, we have another one on August 13th at 5:30, just prior to our board meeting. Parks is August 17th at 6 p.m. Planning and zoning is August 18th at 6 p.m. School Forest will be meeting August 3rd at 5 p.m. And the next regular town board meeting is scheduled for August 13th at 6:30. And a special note to everybody that workshop and board meeting is moved from Tuesday to Thursday. It'll be Thursday the 13th. So special note for everybody that is planning on attending that. Any other ones that I've missed?
Just the school force meeting on through. I thought you said they're not meeting till school.
On the meeting calendar that was posted, that
Okay.
we're meeting on the 3rd.
Oh, that's good. to know.
Yeah.
They usually don't meet till.
Yeah. Who was it that just said that they weren't meeting?
Yeah, when he spoke.
Oh, Al did?
That's odd.
Okay.
That's-
Well, okay, so anybody that's listening, school force may meet on August 3rd or may not. All right. All right, anything else to come before the board? All right, let's go ahead and adjourn this one.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, motion was made and seconded by Sam and Lisa to adjourn. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed. Motion carries 5-0 and we are adjourned at 8:49.